So workforce planning and employment. This is module 4 for your SPHR, PHR, SHRM SCP. So workforce planning, why is it important for the HR? Because that will be the major subject of the HR, that the people will be working for the organization and they will achieve your help in achieving your goals, vision and mission. So there are a lot of examples, a lot of definition are there in this and important from the examination point of view. So it's unlawful employment practice are those that have an adverse impact on the members of the protected class. Adverse impact. We'll study what is the adverse impact. That is 4/5 rule or the 80% rule. That is the adverse impact. These are called the unlawful practices, employment practices. And we have to see which are the protected class. So let's see what is the disparate treatment. Disparate treatment is that treatment in which when the employer treats some candidate or the employees differently, such as requiring a woman to take the driving test when they are applying for a job, but not requiring men to take a test when they are applying for the same job. That disparate treatment. For one person, for one community, you have some other rules, and for some other community, you have exempted that rules. And practice that have disparate impact on the members of protected class seems to be fair on their face, but they result in adverse impact on the class. So on the members of the protected class. So such as requiring all the candidates for firefighters positions for certain heights. Just wait.
This conference will now be recorded.
So practice that have impact on the disparate impact is your that seems to be fair on their face but result on adverse impact on members of protected class, such as requiring all candidates for firefighter position to be a certain height. That becomes the disparate impact. And if you see, we're talking about your protected class. Protected class. What is that protected class?
Disabled people, women, pregnant women.
Protected class covers your these kind of people, like it's the race.
Color.
It's the race is the one, color, religion, national origin, and sex. So it means R. So the abbreviation, if you see C, R, C, R, R. What do you? It's a religion.
RCRNS. Race, color, religion, national origin, and sex.
Right. RCROS. So you can remember in this way. So you will have the question and they will give you the confusion in that sometimes you have 4 options like this way. So you must remember this one. So when you are actually reading for SPHR, SHRM, so you're very familiar with these terms. When you have the questions, the question that will be they'll give you in confusing way, right? So you have to remember what that means. RCROS, right? So next is your BFOQ, that is the bona fide occupational qualification. BFOQ. That occurs when the religion, sex, and your national origin is reasonably necessary to the normal operation of the business. That is the BFOQ. Clear? So bona fide occupational record, reasonably necessary for normal operation. So what you do, sometimes we discriminate on the bona fide on the basis of the bona fide occupation requirement that is there, that we discriminate. Like visually impaired person will not be hired for a pilot position, right? Then you have your, that is most important. Every time we see this question, EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. It's the Title 7 that created the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, where they mandate to promote equal employment opportunity, educate
employers,
opposite to equal employment, as the name suggests, equal employment, educate employers, provide technical assistance, study and report on your activities to the Congress and the American people. So it is an enforcement agency. Another discrimination legislation. It's an enforcement. So it is basically to provide the equal employment to all the Americans, to all the people who are working in America. So Let's have the Equal Employment Opportunity Act of 1972 that is extended to which of the following? So it is extended to the education institutes, it is the state and the local governments, and your federal government, and the reduced to number from employees 25 to 15. So you'll have the question in 1972 it was reduced to 25 to 15. 15 the employer which have so that is liable to have the equal they were covered under this act and you have to maintain the data and the statutory for this. Then is the Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978. Pregnancy discrimination is the discrimination against the woman on the basis of the pregnancy, childbirth, and your related medical condition and unlawful employment opportunity practice. Then the age discrimination in employment, like the ADEA in 1967. I think we have discussed already. So age discrimination is the basis that the promote the employment of the older person based on their ability of their age. So what? On their age to prohibit arbitrary discrimination in the employment to help the employer and workers in the way to meeting the problems. So what happens is the major employer, what they do, they discriminate against the aged employees. Who are the age? Above 40 and above. It's 40 and above, and it is applicable where you have 20 employees. So for remembering this ADEA Act, I have divided this into 20 ratio 20, 40 ratio 20.
40 years and 20.
Yeah, 40 years and 20 employees. So it's when you have the question, you don't feel confusion in the ADEA age discrimination. It's 40,
20.
and 40 and 20. So almost double. This is how you can remember this. And EEOC is for 15. It's for 15. So it's all about your how you remember this. And next is your ADEA. There are certain exceptions for that. So first one exception is that you show that it is reasonably necessary for the business operation, like hiring for the firefighters, police officers. So then you can exception there. You will not hire them. Then retirement age of 65 or older people for the executive position, you can discriminate. And to at least 2 years that are eligible for retirement benefits of 44,000 per year. A retirement tenure of employee institution at age of 70 years. Someone is at 70, you can discriminate the institution of higher education and discharge for discipline just for cause. If you find this just for causes, that was required to perform that duties. That is just for cause. So in states with the FEPA, an individual must file a charge with the EEOC within 18 days of the incidents, and states with FEPA, charge must be filed within the 300 days of the accident.
What is FEPA?
Federal Exchange, FEPA, with FPA, without FPA.
Federal Employee Protection.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It is basically it is for the exempt employment or not exempt FEPA, Federal Employee Protection. So in state with the FPA, a charge must be filed within the 300 days. That is important one of the incident, and the charge are initially filed with the state enforcement. After the 30 days are receiving the written notice from the state that the investigation was terminated. So it's 300 days. ADEA 40, 20, 300. So if EEOC does not file a civil suit or enter into a conciliation agreement within the 180 days of the initial charge, the compiling individual is notified and maybe file a suit within the 90 days of receiving that notification. When the individual has filed a charge with the EEOC, there is 60 days waiting period. So that becomes important examination point of view. So there is a 60 days of your what do you call it? Waiting period for the individual that may request right to sue letter. This request ends with the EEOC investigation and requires the individual to file a civil action within 90 days or lose the right to pursue the claim in future. So he can within 90 days he can file.
This is very confusing to remember all this. Even like in chapter 2, the tables.
A table. That's why I'm giving you the example like 40, 20, 300,
It's too much.
EEOC Executive Order 1246,
I just
11246. No, that is important.
No, I learned it in the.
I'll teach,
That's what
give you the example how to learn. So American with a Disability Act 1990, that becomes you have protected class status to be qualified person with disabilities that identify the labor covered entities as employed agencies and labor union, joint labor management with the 15 or
More advice.
EEOC 15. Please, it is ADEA Act.
Age discrimination is 20. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Look,
20. Yeah.
I think so. We are already doing it. This is ADEA and now we are doing the ADA. So sometimes we immediately feel that it is ADA. It's American with the disabilities. So it is 40 and 20 and EEOC 15, ADA 15.
Yeah.
This is also 15. Please see this. It is also 15. It is almost American disabilities and your EEOC. EEOC also 15.
Yeah.
It's 15. ADA is 15. Where age is given, that is 40, 20. Right? It is American with the disabilities. So let's come to the ADEA requires the covered entities to make the reasonable accommodation to develop the employment opportunities for qualified person with disability. Like facility should be accessible to person with disability and position for requirement may be adjusted to accommodate the qualified person with disability. And it defines the undue hardship as the accommodation that plays an excessive burden on the employer. Means when you are accommodating a person with disability or you are making certain changes in your in your organization, like you're giving your financial costs is there, structural changes are there, time is also there. Your cost, finance, and the size of the organization, that depends. So there are certain terminology like the disability. Disability is what? Physical and mental impairment that cause substantial limitation to one's major life activities for an individual. That is disabled. Or in India, we call it as this definition as which reduces the earning power.
I don't know. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that is also there.
Which reduces the earning power. Yeah. What are you saying?
Yes, sir, that is also included. In the other chapter, we learned that also. Yeah.
Right.
Reduction in the earning power.
So then you have the major life activity. The major life activities that in the two areas, like the general activity, the major bodily function are there, and you have the that ignore the mitigating measures that only that accept the ordinary glass for contact lens mitigating measures such as the medication, prosthetics, and hearing aid. That may not be limited the definition of disability. They will not include in the disability mitigation. So clarify the definition regarded as that individual are who are able to demonstrate that they have been subject of the prohibited activities under the ADA model. Then it authorizes the EEOC to regulate the compliance and prohibits the reverse discrimination claims. This reverses that individual without disability may not use the ADA to file the claim on the.
A lot of people do this because you get Social Security every Wednesday. It comes every 2 Wednesdays in the month. It's a big game over there. People say I'm disabled, especially army. When they go to war, they come and say psychological disorder. I've done a lot of these.
Good. So Civil Rights Act of 1991 to provide the appropriate remedies for civil rights is basically remedy for the intentional discrimination and lawful harassment in the workplace. And to codify the concept of business necessity, the job related and articulated by Supreme Court of the Griggs versus the Duke Park and Warsco versus the.
What was the decision, the landmark decision of Griggs? What did it say?
And basically, if you see this Greeks, for the blacks and whites, they want the examinations for the blacks and white, they were exempted for that.
Okay.
So that he filed a suit that this is discrimination, unlawful. This is
Based on color.
based on color, and secondly, this basically will lead to the disparate treatment because the ultimately selection rate will be lower for that. That is a Greek sense. So you'll have a question from Greeks, and
Yeah, I know, that's why.
that is the civil right, that is the unlawful discrimination and the harassment. And to confirm the statutory authority to provide the statutory guidelines and to respond to the decision of the Supreme Court by expanding the scope of relevant civil rights status in order to provide this certain protection for
Discrimination. So Griggs is discrimination case. Okay, civil right.
And disparate impact was first introduced by the Griggs versus Duke. This is a disparate 1971. That's important from your examination point of view. It's disparate treatment. So Griggs was a black. So disparate impact occurs when the employment practice which appears to be fair, but unintentionally discriminated against it. Sometimes you feel that it is fair, but we are unintentionally discriminating against a certain class, that is protected class. CRA, the Civil Rights Act. CRA places a burden of proof on the discrimination complaints and the complainant when there is a job-related business necessity, and when the individual alleges multiple discriminatory acts, such as their practice in itself are discriminatory, unless the employer decision and making process cannot be separated. Let's go to the Civil Rights Act 1991. It provides certain relief for the victim of intentional discrimination of harassment, codifies the concept of disparate. Civil right harassment and disparate. CRA made certain changes to Title VII that provides a punitive damage to the employer when engaged in discriminatory, and exclude the back pay awards from compensatory damages. And this line is important. Excluded the back pay awards and established a sliding scale for the compensatory and punitive damages on the company size, and provided that any party to civil suit in which punitive and compensatory damages are sought may demand a jury trial.
Okay.
Then required that the individual alleging that an unlawful employment practice is in use prove that the result in disparate impact to members of certain class, and provided that the job relatedness, reasonable business necessity or defense to disparate impact, and that is the business can show the practice cannot does not result in the disparate impact, and provided the business necessity is not the defense against the intentional discrimination. It's basically. And it's established that the discrimination was a motivating factor in the employment practice that was unlawful. And they expanded the coverage to include the foreign operation of American business unless compliance would constitute violation of the law they host. So it is applicable to the outside the US if the host employer law is not available. Civil Right of 1991 extended to the survey to the coverage of EEO laws and regulation. Citizens working internationally for US controlled companies, and also act allow the foreign country required action in conflict with the US laws, and then foreign laws will apply. So it's a foreign law will apply. So these are certain kind of please remember that this is also important. What kind of compensatory damages are required? This is important for your examination. Like your 15 to 100, if you have employees, it's 50,000. So when the figure becomes double here, so it also becomes the double, right? So this is actual way of remembering this. It is going to be double here, right? 2 times, and now again it is going to be double, more than double here. So it is double here. It is up to above 500. It is 3 million. Well, that is the way to remember. The 50 is the from 15 to 100 is the 50. It's the half of this 100, half of this 50. Then you have 100 to 200. It's double, and 200 to 500. It's 300. From here it becomes double. So now it's the 500 to then 100 is their addition. That's the 300. So you must remember this one. GINA is important. GINA is Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act of 2008. GINA prohibits the employer from the unlawful discrimination against the employees or their family members, and defines the genetic information as a result of genetic tests for employees and their family members, and the information about the genetic disease, disorder revealed through the genetic testing. And it's unlawful for the employees to require, purchase genetic information, but does not penalize from them individually Obtaining the information. General employers allow the employers to obtain the information for wellness and health program. Then when they offer the employee authorized employee has to give in writing that they authorize that the genetic information can be taken and that their information must be used for the wellness and health program, not for any other purpose. Employer may request the information as a request by the Family and FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act. The employer may also use the genetic information if the federal and state laws require genetic monitoring biological effects. Let's come to the 501, 501, 3, 5. What that means? Rehabilitation Act of 1973. I think section of rehabilitation, the name suggests it's to expand the opportunities available for the person with the physical and mental disabilities. Then you have to rehabilitate them. There are certain clauses in the Act that applies to agencies to all the federal and the federal contract. It's basically for the federal, not for the state. And with the contract of 10,000 for a more or for a more of 12 months a period. This is the important one from here. It's 10,000, it's 12 months period, it's the 5. If you multiply 5 with the 2, then it becomes your 10. So it is, if you see, these are 501, 3, these are all are in odd numbers. That is with the rehabilitation stage. This is how you can remember. It's all in all number, odd number. 01, 03, 05, and it is on the applicable on the 10,000 and 12 months. That is how you can remember. So, and 501 section that address the employment discrimination. 501 it's for the discrimination. 503. If you see the individual with a disability who think that federal contractor has violated the open drawing tool. So 501 address your employment discrimination is there. Now you feel that a disability who think that federal contractor has violated the requirement of Rehabilitation Act also files the complaint with the OFCCP, with the Office of the Federal Contract Compliance Program. So here you see, first is the discrimination is there. Now you feel that it is a violation. If you see it's a violation, now you go for the remedial. It's a violation, now it's the remedial. So here you have the remedial. So it is V, and here you have, sorry, just one. So first you have the discrimination here, then you feel that it is the, it has been violated, then you have go for what will be the remedies. Here you have the damage. You see the targeted damage. Now the remedies are available for those that have been set to unlawful factors. That is 505. That's how you can remember. First is discrimination is there. Now you see the damage that has been violated. Now is the remedies 501, 2, 501, 3, and 5. VEVRA, Vietnam Era Veterans Readjustment Assistance Act. Sometimes you ask me what is the, sometimes it is assistance. So Vietnam Era Veteran Readjustment Act, Assistance Act 1974. The equal employment opportunity and the affirmative action protection for veterans who served during the Veteran War, Vietnam War, that veterans who have served in the Vietnam, provided by the Vietnam Era Readjustment Act, which applies to the federal contractor of 25,000 and more. It's important. Vietnam, how will you remember this? Vietnam with V of 25. So V, it's 25 here. Okay. So contractors, it is not 10,000, 2,500, it's 25,000 here. Vietnam Era veterans, so the old soldiers, old people.
More money.
Yeah, you have the old people. The V is also the comes in last, almost near to Z. So you can remember it's on the higher side, 25,000 or more.
For all people, veterans.
Right. So Act requires the federal contractors to list all the job openings with the state employment agency unless they are the senior level management. A position that will be filled from within a position that will last for 3 days. So you have to list all your openings, and There are certain exceptions. Unless that is a senior level position, you can discriminate against the old people, and you can discriminate if you can hire, you will not hire if you are promoting within. And if it is the job is lasting for 3 days, you need not to hire the old people or the veterans. And state employment agencies required to give the priority to the Vietnam era when provided with the referral to these. So this is Vibra, this is the state government, and here you please see this is the federal government, Rehabilitation Act. Federal. It is the FED, federal. It is the FEDR. It is more of federal, not a state. So this is confusing. You're a state and federal. So they are given to apply. They have to give the priority. So Vietnam era is veteran is one having served with the between who is Vietnam era veteran served between 1964 to 1975, 10 years, almost 10 years, 9 years of you here. And it acts provide the protection for the disabled veteran who have disabilities 10, 20, 30 and percent more, 10, 20, 30% more. Important one from examination point of view, executive orders written by the President of United States, and it become the law after 30 days you have written in the Federal Register, you become the law. So it is written by the President proclamation that published in the Federal Register and become the law after 30 days. And EU have been used to ensure equal employment opportunity afforded by the federal agency and provide the business that contract and subcontract for the agencies. What are the EU orders? This one is the first one is very important. 11246 very important. You will see the question from here. So it is basically race, color, creed, and origin. We have RCCO here. Huh? That requires the affirmative action that is for advertising job, recruiting, and RCCO is for the 11246. Please remember this: race, color, creed, and origin. And now there is one more addition has to be there when we are seeing the what is protected class. Then sex was included. So 75 created in 1967 at 75. Operated or expanded the discrimination on the basis of the sex. So here you have 5 and if 75, it's 75, 7. You can remember this way, and sex for SC. So then you can how you can remember, because these are very confusing. I'm giving you some of the tips to remember this.
I think I do 2, 3, 4. 2 is race, caste, color, creed, national origin.
2, 3, 4. Yeah, this is also one of the good way.
2,
2, 3, and 4. Actually, there is a.
They mix it up.
And when 4 comes, it was just your what you have 11478. 40 years old handicapped individual person with the 40 years old to list the protected class. So it is related to the Age Discrimination Act, written in 1969. So it is the 4 where it comes the 4, it comes the 40 age, and it is the handicapped also with this 40 year above.
Handicap.
So this is how you can remember 11246, 11375, 75 related to the sex, and 11478, 4 related to the 40 age. This is how you can remember, right? And you have next is your 1138, 12138. So 12138 is the National Women Business Enterprise Policy. That is your.
How many are there?
There are many. So 12138 with the with the implementation of the 12138, the National Women Business Enterprise Policy was created, and this one is important to promote the support and business enterprise. right? And if you have 1113087, 7 stand for, again 7 for sexual orientation. S, that's why S for S, 7. And here you have the 13115 to 52. If you see 52 years, I tell you to remember this way. For 52 years, so 52 years will be the aged people having the kids with them. So you need to protect these kind of individual for that they need care for their family members like your children or the biological, they may be the biological parents. Those the children, kids who are not capable of handling themselves, they may be individuals who are incapable of self-care, then you require. It's 13115 to 52. You can remember 52 is a senior person with having the kids. It is to,
Yeah.
this is how you can remember this one. 52 is your kids. Clear?
Yeah.
So foster, and here you have a S. S stand for 7. Again, sexual orientation, sex. Okay. Last one is your 79. 13279. Here it was 13138. It is 1327, and the last one. In the end, you will have the 279. It's the last one. You have the phase on the social system, community.
The highest number is
higher. It is the social. It is the topmost position, highest number 279. So 130. So it is based on the faith-based, community, and social services. This is how you can remember. Right, let's move to this. There are 2 levels of compliance required for the executives. How the executive orders are made. So first level, that which prohibits the employment discrimination, that require the contractor to make the affirmative action in the employment actions. So it applies to the contract of 10,000 or more than. In Vietnam, we have 25,000. And present in orders, executive orders, it is 10,000. Clear? For it will EEO require. So you can remember this way. The EEO is your 10K.
even Rehabilitation Act is 10,012 employees.
Rehabilitation Act, yes. That's 10,000. Vietnam is 25,000.
Yeah.
So
people.
EO and your Rehabilitation Act is 10,000. Second compliance is the contractor with the 50 or more than contract 50,000 or more and require affirmative action of the AAP for 120 days for the originating.
What is affirmative action plan?
Affirmative action plan is something how would I tell you in the local language, affirmative action, which you need to do.
After something goes wrong.
Affirmative action, that there is a certain policy that you need to follow that. That is the affirmative action plan, the written affirmative. This need to be compliant. That may be the compliance part, or you have to follow this. Yeah.
And what is succession planning?
Succession planning is your you have to, want the person in your organization who is going to retire or you're leaving the organization, you have to fill that place from internal promotions to for a senior. It's basically done for the senior level position. That is the succession planning. In local language, Indian language, you can say it's a waris.
Is what?
Waris.
Waris?
वारिस जमीन का वारिस प्रॉपर्टी का वारिस कौन बनेगा?
But that is by birth only. Land.
Waris then promote from within. Now you are not promoted.
Okay.
Succession planning.
Succession planning is promotion from within.
It's your who will fill the vacuum. That is Rajgadi पे कौन बैठेगा? है ना? वो है succession planning. Who will be? Then you design that this person will sit on that seat at the succession planning. So this one is important. 50 ratio 50,000.
50-50.
And 120 days here 50-50. Let's see. AAP. EO orders AAP 10,000. So it's for the 10,000, and with the contract 50 or more than second compliance for the contractor, it is for the 10,000 as well and the 50. Right? AAP. AAP.
Aam Aadmi Party.
Aam Aadmi Party. तो इसका तरीका बताऊं? आम आदमी पार्टी आई थिंक दिल्ली में सीट्स हैं ऑलमोस्ट 120, कितनी है ना, तो उनको 60 के आसपास सीट चाहिए, 50 से अब चाहिए सीट्स आम आदमी पार्टी को दिल्ली में सरकार बनाने के लिए. यू हैव टू फॉर्म अ गवर्नमेंट, so it is 50. AAP.
And 120 is total seats.
AAP 50
Yeah,
50 आ गया तो 50,000 आ गया, 50,000 था A120 आ गया,
And
right?
120.
This is how you can remember the executive orders, right? This is how you can remember 50 50 Aam Aadmi Party 50 seats require 50,000 and 120 total
50
seats.
and 50 go parallel.
Yeah. This is how you can remember the things. Then you have the annual EEO survey.
तो मैं से अगर कोई पूछे what is succession planning, I say Boris.
हाँ, अब आपको समझ में आ गया?
Yeah, I understand.
अब तो नहीं बोलते कभी जिंदगी में सक्सेशन प्लानिंग. So when you have the annual EEO surveys, you have the working together with the EEOC and Office of the Federal Compliance Contract Program. Then both work together to develop a reporting format, and the EEO1 reporting format that must be required. So EEO must be filed before the 30th September of each year, and employer must complete the report. For the private employers, subject to the Title 7 with the employees more than 100, and there are certain exceptions for that, like for the state and local government, you need not to file such reports, and you have the primary and secondary school systems. It means it's a primary, it's a higher education, and education institutes don't require EEO reports to be submitted. Indian tribes and the tax exempted private membership clubs, it requires certain kind of reports. Let's come to the federal employers. Again, there's 50 and 100 employees with the contract of 50,000. That is the part of executive order and become the EEO applicable on 50 or more than 50. And there are certain kind of report that needs to be determined that must be submitted electronically or on paper, and employer with the operation of a single location, and you can form a single complete form. If you have multiple location, you can use a record for multiple forms. You can use like your headquarter reports. If it's a multiple location, you have to use the headquarter reports. That employment data needs to be submitted from the principal office, and if it is a location with the 50 or more employees, then you need to have a separate explanation report that must be required. And location with 50, fewer than 50, then you must report with a separate establishment with a list of employment, with the report with the, you have to write your address, phone number, location with the 50 employees along with their data grid, like your what is their age, what is their race, their sex, which job category they're working. Then you can form a consolidated report, that data from the individual location report that is combined with the consolidated report. The total number of employees in the report must be equal to the data submitted to the individual reports. Then you have the race, ethnicity, and categories, like your these are the Hispanic or your Latin, and your white, black, and your Native Hawaiian, and your Asians, American Indians. So these are the certain categories.
A lot of people, Indians, go wrong here. They'll click American Indian. They don't know that is like native.
They don't put this Asian.
They don't put Asian.
They
put American Indian, that now I'm American and I'm also Indian. A lot of people do it.
What the benefit they get then?
Huh? The form gets rejected, then it comes back. They say, you're Asian.
Okay.
But they say, no, we are American.
There are certain kind of job categories which EEO form must be there, that must be executive first, manager level, professional, technicians, your sales workers, administrative, craft workers, operative, labor, and service workers. Then affirmative action plan that are determined, there are certain components of the affirmative action plan that determine the OFCCP, Office of the Federal Contract Compliance Program. But these are the AAP components. You're asking me what is the app. So these are these you must follow that. Organizational profile must be there in the app. So this is the component, organizational profile, what kind of hierarchy there, what kind of geographical, traditional, and job description analysis, the places, the titles, similar duties and responsibilities. You give your job groups. In app component, you have your placements of incumbents in the groups. The list of the percentage of the minorities will be there. Determinant of the availability, like the demographic data, labor pool, and the comparison of incumbency and the availability. like compares the protected class. Then you have the placement goals. Placement goals are what? That's reasonably address the underrepresentation of protected class. Then these are the component designation of the person responsible for the implementation within the identification of problem area that comes in the AAP, that becomes the action oriented program, and periodic internal audits. Now, these are the AAP components. It's the organization, it's a job, it's your job responsibility, it's a placement, it's related to the protected class that become the components of the AAP. So these are these years may be wrong, so I think.
We just did this. This we have to when
Yeah.
I mug it up. So
Yeah, again 15, pregnancy it's 15, EEOC 15, another, there was one more that was 15.
I'm telling you, EEOC is 15.
Purnima, you also participate.
Rehabilitation is 15. Age discrimination is 20.
Age is only 20. Right?
Yeah, age is only 20. That's how I learned it in that. And then the pages.
And Vietnam Vira is
how I
how? Vietnam Vira?
25,000. Old people, we give them more money.
Right. Purnima, sleeping?
No, sir, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. So pregnancy discrimination 15-15 that requires the employer with the 15 or more than employee treat maternity leave same as their personal medical leave. It requires the individual given up to 12 weeks for the family leave without pay. 12 weeks of without pay, and also requires the taking those of family leave to be allowed to be then they can return to the job. Where family applies to the both men and women. Applies to both men and women. But in India it is not. But here it is, they are not paying. Equal pay.
You know, sorry, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
In England, in London, your pregnancy leave is so good. It's 28 weeks, and out of those 28 weeks, your half is paid. America does not have any pregnancy leave by law.
India 26 weeks.
This Modi's done, na? It
Yeah.
wasn't there before. Modi said you have to pay also.
No, it's the Supreme Court. They have done it all along pending.
Yeah, but sir,
Yeah.
it'll come under him, na?
Yeah. At 26 weeks.
And in America, sir, there's nothing. It's hire, fire, go.
Nothing.
No pay. Only like if you're working for a private organization, it's their prerogative if they want to give it to you.
It's a retention rule. If you
Which some do, but otherwise by law there's no requirement.
But they are giving other benefits like so many benefits. Veteran, we war veteran.
Come on.
Yeah, they are giving
There are no benefits in America. The amount of taxes you pay, na, it's crazy. If you make 1 million a year, you pay nearly 70% in tax. What is coming in your hand? People
70% tax.
Yeah, there are so many taxes. That's why people, they say there's no point going over 1 million. There's no point going over 1 million because you're paying in taxes. So many taxes. You buy a house tax, HOA fee every month. We pay $350 every month for just neighborhood protection. Nonsense it is. India is so much better.
Okay, that's.
They take all your money.
Okay. But yeah, let's move to FPDA, Pregnancy Discrimination Act.
We did
15 and no leave and 15/12. It means 12 weeks of holiday without pay. Equal pay and equal pay equity these are required employees to pay similar wages for your similar work with regard to the gender, that is equal pay. And common core of tasks that must be similar and what task performance that are intermittently and infrequently do not make the job different to justify the significant different wages are there. There can be difference in the pay that may be allowed because of the difference in the seniority and difference in the performance and difference in the quality and factors of the sex, skills, effort, and working condition. What is the pay equity? Equal pay means you have pay equal, but pay equity means the idea of pay for jobs requiring the comparable level of skills, knowledge, and ability should be similar. And if the actual duties differ significantly, means pay equity, you have to give these equal kind of salary. The women's working in the women-dominated area, they must be paid as compared to the male-dominated area, like a gym trainer, those who are working in the gym as the male members, and the female working in linguist pro, they must be paid equally for that. And the pay equity. That is the pay equity.
But non-paid.
Sexual harassment is that the action that are sexually directed, unwanted, subject to worker adverse environment conditions that create the hostile work environment.
We did this in employee relations,
Right.
no?
Yeah. Disabled person having a physical mental impairment that certainly limits the life activities and who records such an impairment, who regarded as having such an impairment, there are certain definitions like the essential job function that are required to perform the job. Reasonable accommodation is that modification of the job work environment that gives a qualified individual an equal employment opportunity to perform. That is
undue hardship.
undue hardship is this significant difficulty in expense exposed on the imposed on their employer by making accommodation for individuals with a disability. Undue hardship like the financial cost burden are there. Physical, structural changes. Older worker benefit protection program, OWBPA. I think Americans are more concerned about the older people.
They are concerned about 3 classes. That's why when you asked me protected class, I said pregnant women, old people and children. The others can die. But you
pregnant
these
women?
3, pregnancy, pregnant women, children and old people. You touch these 3 people, you are gone for life. No one can save you.
But you're saying that pregnant woman, then higher and fire is there.
No, not during pregnancy. When I was working, when I was pregnant, nobody said anything to me. I had such great flexible hours, it was crazy. Because all you have to say over there is, I think I'm stressed today.
Okay. So there is a certain kind of amendments to the Age Discrimination Eligibility Act that aimed at protecting employees that they are assigned the liability of waivers for the age discrimination in exchange of the severance packages. In an early retirement package that includes a waiver stating the employee will not sue for age discrimination if he or she must take some money for retirement. There must be a written authorization, clearly stated agreement must be there that can exempt the employer, that can save the employer. And offer a value employee will receive without the package and advise the employee to consult an attorney. It allows the employee at least 21 days to consider the offer. It is important 21 days to consider the offer.
7 days to revoke it.
And you have time for another 1 week for the 7 days to revoke your agreement after signing you. Between 7 days is the cushion period for the employer. Immigration, IRCA, Immigration Reform Control Act, basically to control I-9 forms. When IRCA, I-9 comes in the picture, registration of the more foreign workers, born workers means that employer must comply with the provision of IRCA. Employers are required to obtain and inspect I-9 forms, verify the documents such as birth certificate, passport, visas, and work permits, and they can define their hire illegal aliens. So they can be fined if you know.
I'm not an alien.
No, they can fine.
I've been an alien all my life.
Disparate treatment is that occurs when the protected class member is substantially underrepresented in the employment decision. It's a 4/5 rule.
What is this rule?
Simple. 4 divided by 5 comes out to be 80%.
Discrimination exists in selection process.
Just see this is 4 divided by 5, it becomes 80% here.
Yes.
Discrimination exists if the selection rate is practically less than 80%, the selection rate of the majority group. So when you feel that the male were hired and suppose there were female were hired, suppose there were 100 people were there, after that suppose 60 were male and 40 were female, example. So if there were you have 50 positions and you have to hire, and you hired 60 from
there
60.
Is some there's some formula to this. I didn't understand.
I make you understand.
Okay,
so you have total position of 50 positions are there.
Yeah.
And your total applicant were 100. After that, 60 were male and 40 were female.
Okay.
Out of 50, you have hired 30 males, example.
Out of the 50 needed, 30 are male and 20 is female.
No, 30 you have hired.
Yeah.
From 30, now you have to find that 80% rule. Means 30 into 80%.
30 into 80, that's 1600.
24. 24 female must be hired in that. Else it will be disparate treatment.
Okay, 80% needs to be one gender orientation, you say.
It's a for the protected class. Means what? Let's give me the another example. Here you have this example, and this example says that female applicant were 25% of the job and male applicant of 45. Disparate impact is 4/5 rule, that becomes 80%. It means male selection rate is 45%. You multiply 80% with the 45%, it becomes the 36%. Minimum is required. It means, and women selection rate is 25% here.
Yeah.
It means it's a disparate treatment.
Yeah, for females.
Yeah, for females.
So disparate impact exists because
If the hiring is below the 80% for the protected class, then it becomes the disparate treatment. That is it. So this is the Africans and the Latinos. So you have the total number of employees in the Acme companies, both 10% Americans, African Americans. So you have the 4/5 rule that from the, so here you have the 13% population, it is greater than 10%. It means there is no such disparate treatment. But here it is 14% and here you have 15%. Clear? So it means there is a disparate treatment. So the question will ask you, which is the disparate treatment? They'll ask you the calculation.
Multiply by 80, and if it's less, it is disparate. If it's more, of course, it's not.
Employment test, any employment factor that you use.
Sir, excuse me, sir. So was that a disparate impact or treatment?
This is a disparate impact. Ultimately, it's a treatment. Treatment will lead,
and this is,
to the impact.
Okay, so impact is something which was unintentional, right? Treatment was intentional.
No, the impact will lead to the treatment.
Treatment will lead to
both ways.
It's just English.
This is basically disparate impact and treatment will go side by side. If one is there, the second will be there.
Okay. And this happens only, this is applicable only at the time of hiring. This 80-20, I mean, this 4/5 rule is for hiring, and no other times this is applicable.
Disparate impact is that leads to what your the hiring selection rate that get impacted. That is the disparate, right? For your protected class. These are third kind of definition, like the employment test, any employment factor used on the basis of making the employment decision. Reliability, consistency. Mediation, dispute resolution process, and the third party makes some validity, and validity that extends to the test may be what is sale at, and you have criteria related and concurrent content related, content validity, criteria, concurrent validity. Criteria validity made by the procedure that test you are the predictor of how well the individual will perform. So you have given some certain kind of criteria.
What's an example of criteria? Criteria would be
criteria. If you see that we can have the example of your typist. So you are given him that 35 words per minute is required, and if that is the criteria required. So
won't that come in the KSA, knowledge, skills, and
abilities? Knowledge.
Criteria would be that you need to be taught.
There are certain kind of validities, like the content validity, the job description, whatever is there is matches with the content, with the job responsibilities or not. And criteria is related to your.
I think criteria is job analysis and job description is content. No?
Criteria is job analysis. Job description, no. Job analysis will lead to what you call this making of your job description.
Content, no?
Actually, we have to see that we have made the job description, whether this is relevant or not. So you check your test, no? You check when you going for the test. You check these tests are valid or not.
I understand.
Right? EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC has enforcement authority for the charges that are brought under your normal federal law, and you issue the policy guidelines for many topics like the influencing. OFCCP, OFCCP, the part of US Department of Labor, and show the federal contractors and subcontractors, and use the non-discriminatory practice and require all the covered employers take the affirmative action to counter prior the discriminatory practice. Equal employment. So these are the conclusion of what we have done recently. Equal employment, which is an attempt to what? Attempt to level the field of opportunity for all people at work, and disparate treatment occurs when the member of protected class are treated differentially. This is the example.
Yeah.
Differentially from your other regardless of discriminatory impact. Disparate impact occurs. This is the example both, right? You are asking me, Purnima, what is the disparate treatment and impact? It occurs when the employment decision work in a disadvantage of the member of the protected classes regardless of discriminatory intent. These two are your differences, and employer may be able to defend their management practice by using their business necessity, like the job relatedness and the BFOQ, bona fide of occupational qualification. Employer have a burden of proof since the primacy of the case of discrimination has been shown, and they will result in the take care of the avoid retaliation. And equal employment, you have your Act 19, in Civil Acts 1964 was the first agreement for the equal employment law. There are certain laws that the sex, gender discrimination have addressed the issue regarding the pregnancy, discrimination, equal pay, similar jobs, and your harassment, sexual harassment. Americans with disability, 40 ratio 20.
Yeah.
No.
What? No, American disabilities.
It's 15. It's a 15.
Yeah.
That require the most employer to identify the essential function of the job. Their reasonable accommodation is required. Age discrimination against the 40, and that is illegal. And the discrimination.
40-20 range.
Right. And next you have your Immigration Reform Control Act that identifies the employment regulation.
So I have a doubt. So what is the difference between the Civil Rights Act of 64 and 91?
I couldn't get you. Yeah, what is your doubt?
The difference between the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and 91?
91 is
There, I've added the question from there. Na? 1964 says it was the equal employment. There are things were added into that. That it was basically for you. Then you have the sex was also included in that. Initially it was RCCO, right? Then you have for your equal employment opportunity, executive opportunity. Moreover, we have it's 25 to. In 72, it was 25 to 15 was made for the employer. But there are certain kind of changes that have been made.
yeah.
Yeah. You have to make your notes for this. You have to remember this, and you have to do the question. So then you have the UGESP Unified Guidelines. Use and employment agencies to examine recruiting, hiring, promoting, and many other employment practices. Then you have the job related validation measure, that test measure, but they are supposed to be valid and reliable. Validity is measure, reliability is consistent. The disparate impact that can be determined use of 4/5 rule, and our primary one, the primary validity is the content validity, which is you use a sample work for that performed EEOC and OFCCP are the major federal enforcement agencies in the area of equal employment opportunity, and you have to, when you have implemented the equal employment opportunity, that requires the record keeping that will be done by the EEO1. Strategic labor force planning, workforce planning. The goal of strategic workforce planning is to ensure the qualified employees are available when the organization needs them. Effective workforce planning is based on your goals, objectives that forecast the organization's future workforce needs, and job analysis, description, identification of the qualified employees, beginning of the organization current workforce demographics, and translating the goal and objective into the tactical staffing plans. This one is the re-engineering and your corporate restructuring. Re-engineering is what? The goal of re-engineering is to align the operation in the way that add values to the customers.
Yeah.
This one is important.
Yeah.
And values to the customer. Workforce planning is to eliminate the jobs which you have or adding up the jobs. Corporate restructuring is the look of the individual with the organization to reduce, eliminate the redundancy or bureaucratic process that the corporate restructuring is done, which in order to reduce your cost and increase your production. corporate restructuring, making changes in the organization to reduce the cost and to reduce the bureaucratic process and eliminate certain kind of jobs which are redundant or which are not required.
Yeah.
For workforce planning, they're reducing the workforce or reassigning the employees to the new job. So now you have your merger and acquisition, the divestiture. Merger and acquisition is the business leaders make a decision to acquire your products, market share by purchasing other companies, and instead of building them internally. You just purchase and merge it, and result in merger and acquisition is the reducing the labor cost and the economies of scale. That is the divestiture. When the strategic plan includes a decision to divest in the operating unit, that can mean eliminating your job, transferring employees to the new operating entity.
Yeah.
Divestiture is what you are selling your.
Close one and move employees to another.
You just focus on your core business and then outsource everything other things.
Okay.
Right? Like your automobile companies, they outsource your manufacturing of seats, covers, leathers. They outsource. They are focusing on the engine part and other than they outsource your tires, right? And reducing the workforce and the divesting the organization appropriate and performing your due diligence and determine whether they're to transfer the employees to the new entity. Offshoring and outsourcing is the result of offshoring, moving your products and services out of country and outsourcing out of your organization. And employees are acquired by the outsider and they terminated from the employer and can be hired by a new company. Expansion, workforce expansion, and organization may decide to expand their workforce in order to accomplish your business objective. Suppose this one is the question which I have given you, workforce expansion, and suppose you want to increase the sale by 15%, what will you do? The question answer is you give the training or what? You will increase the manpower. So answer is increase the manpower.
Yes.
You
Because
hire.
one person can't do job for 3 weeks.
So normally students what they click on that
Training.
you trained the sales staff. No, it's 15% then you right. Job analysis that provides a foundation of identifying the knowledge, the skills and abilities in cases needed to achieve the specific results in the organization.
Okay.
And job description to compile this information.
That's very
Job competencies that require the interviews in formulating your question that elect your information beyond specific tasks and responsibility assigned to the specific job. Essential job function, job specification, well-defined essential job function are important in recruiting process to ensure that the organization compiles the essential which are required, and job specification,
which are needed.
Specification about the skills, your knowledge, and your education. The candidate also use their evaluate their position for the interest, how to assess. So let's come to the alternate staffing method. This is an important one. Job sharing is the alternate staffing method. Part-time employees are the alternate and
Internship programs. Yeah.
job sharing allows the two people with the complementary job skills to share the job and duties responsible for full-time position. So this is done basically job. There is a
Two people do one job.
Two people who do one job. Why? Because there may be a female who wants to work, give time to her family. That they share a job, and that must be in writing, and accordingly she will be paid. There is one more definition that is called as your work sharing. Work sharing is basically when you have
Project basis.
Work sharing is basically when you have not financially good condition of the organization or the market. So what do? You just decrease their hours, working hours. Accordingly, you pay them. But the decreased hours that will be compensated by your your insurance, employment insurance. In job sharing, it is not the employment insurance that will work.
Yeah.
That is the difference of that job sharing and work sharing. So part-time employees work with less than regular work weeks and internship program designed to give the students the opportunities to give the gain experience. Then you have your on-call workers always which come on call, like the plumber, electrician available on short notice, seasonal worker working for a particular period of time, like your agriculture, like your
Berry picking and
berry baking, and you're like in India we have the pesticides, and your workers are working in the ice factories. They are also the seasonal workers. Then the contract workers, they are the independent contractor. The independent contractor and the employee, there's a certain kind of demarcation that independent contractor difference is the job control by the employer. It's a control, degree of control that differentiates from the employee and independent contractor. You have full control over the employee, but no control over the independent contractor. There's a contract. So there's a self-employed individual who work on a fees basis and with multiple customers and client. Now this is important PE or professional employer organization. The operates organization, HR department, and PO become the employer of record. This line is very important for exam. They become the employer of record and then leases the employee back to the organization. Suppose means a company A has hired employees. Now they have terminated all the service of their employees. Now company B is that third party. Now these employees from the A will be transferred to the B.
And who does that? The professional employer organization.
I tell you, the company B, then you ask them, please ask them to work for me. So the employee will become the leasing company, that company B become the employee leasing company to company A.
Yeah.
Now the all kind of your responsibilities, all kind of statutory that will be maintained by your company B, that become the employer of record. And I'll ask, give me the record for all the employees, give me that becomes the employer of record.
So the company B is the professional employer of
Yeah, that becomes the PEO. So there is a difference with the third party and the PEO. Third party can be anything to provide it, but PEO becomes the professional employer organization. They similarly work as the employer organization, as A is there, with all the liabilities on them. So PEO provides the full service HR, payroll, benefit services that can provide the cost-effective solution that enable your smaller companies and benefits. So this is the major difference of PEO that becomes a professional employer organization. Now next is your outsourcing, move the entire function out of your specific organization handled by the company specialized in that function. Human resource outsourcer like your HR function, like a business administration, recruiting, payroll, or training part can be outsourced. Let's come to the staffing need analysis. If you go for the need analysis, and you must collect your data. First step is your collection of the data. Then you come what kind of cases, knowledge, skills, and abilities are required, and what cases are required, and how many people are needed. Then you identify your gaps. Then you analyze the option like internal source, external, and the alternatives. Alternative staffing method or what?
Outsourcing these staffing as this.
What are the alternate staffing methods, Purnima?
Yeah, you call
Job sharing and all.
Yeah.
And all mean? And all means?
Part-time workers, you go
Part-time, seasonal,
Yeah.
etc.
Right. Then you have your selection, there will be the solution you develop your recruiting strategy, recruiting program, and you evaluate the test, and now evaluation result again go back to collection. That is staffing need as you can do. Then you have the BLS, is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Bureau of Labor Statistics collect the data from employers throughout the United States and making the available sources on the website, and analyzing the labor market, unemployment rate, occupational outlook, demographic, and wage by the area and occupation. Basically, they check your data, they collect your data, and BLS introduced the JOLTS, job opening labor turnover survey, which analyze the open position, hiring, terminations, JOLTS. Then you have your markets categories like the geographic, technical, and education. Passive candidates are those not looking actively for the job, but they are the stable candidates are recruiting in the process of creating interest, hire, and they must apply for that position. That is recruiting. Employer brand is that, and when organization the brand identity in the marketplace, whether or not it has been concisely developed, the reputation established within the employees, current and formal, along with the way organization they present itself in a general marketplace. Employer brand like the Google is an employer brand, Microsoft is an employer brand, that becomes the brand that creates their own identity. Job posting is the posting your jobs on the internet. They include your description, competencies, responsibilities, that is job posting. Bidding is something before the position is made available. You are asking the candidates to apply for that job. So the seeking candidate, they will apply for the job for the organization. Then you can see which kind of job you can build up your recruiting and your financial strategy of what kind of cities you want to give. So it provides a mean of which employees express their interest for the position before it becomes available. And give the supervisor and HR department an opportunity to review the job qualification and add the employee name replacement to the succession planning. It is also used for the succession planning. Succession planning identifies the individual within the organization who have the talent and ability to move to the management or executive position for 1 to 5 years. It's basically done for the senior manager position. One of these individuals are undefined development plans are created to ensure they are mentored and have an opportunity to obtain the education, training, and experience in the areas that will enhance their abilities to move into the senior position when the organization needs them. Replacement chart, just like parallel to the succession planning, but succession planning is basically for your senior management. When your people are ready for your promotion, employees demonstrate the cases to assume that additional responsibilities that they are ready to move forward. And they develop for the future promotion, employees who are proficient in their current position and their additional responsibilities, training, and they are satisfactory in their current position, they must replace they in the category for a variety of reasons like such as transfers, promotion, impending retirement, and the short-term disability. Uniform guidelines for employees, succession for UGESP procedure. Any selection tools that are adverse impact against the practical laws is discriminatory. Unless the employer can show the tool is both a job related and a valid predictor of the job success in that position. So there are certain kind of records that need to be must be required by the employer to keep, like for your sex, race, ethnic, and use the category consistent with the EEO reports. This again is one of the example for adverse impact. It's 80-20, 80 rule, 80-20 rule, or 80% rule. This one is you hire your total applicant for this, males for this, hired for this. It is 19% section. You divide it, multiply by 15, 80%, it becomes 15%. So when you hire the female, it was 13. It's a reverse impact on that. It's clearly stated that. Now you have the applicant tracking system. ATS is your UGS. Uniform guidelines, employees, selection procedures. They require employee to keep record of all the individuals who apply for the position based on their sex, race, ethnic that are available previously on the internet applicable. That the employer must act for it. They have to fill for a particular position. Individual has followed the employer standards of procedure in submitting the application, and individual has indicated the interest in particular position described in EEO reports. So you have your tools that are your screening your tools, like your resume is one of the screening tool, employment applications, short-term employment application, long-term applications, and your job-specific employment application, weighted employment application, and your screening your interview. That's given detail very much in your booklets, very easy to understand. There are certain kind of interviews like your behavior interview, directed, non-directed. Behavior, you check your behavior, and directed, these are controlled and guided by the interviewer with a predetermined set of questions. Are there non-directed with you ask broad range of questions from the candidates. Then you have patterned interview, the structure to cover specific areas for certain. Then is panel interviews. Panel may be decided by the judges or the interviews, and they select the candidate. And structured interviews are more similar to the directed. And a list of questions is prepared in advance. It's the most kind of that is most authenticated. And stress interviews that you check the stress of the candidate, how is able to check like your airline pilots or enforcement officer, astronauts. Interview bias, there are certain kind of bias in the interviews, like your average, your central tendency, you treat everyone with the average, the central mid position, the poor and high performers are always treated on the same level of scale. The contrast is similar, just like you see, you are comparing the candidates to the candidate, to a single candidate. Then the contrast you're seeing that. I think you have that question. Then the cultural noise, you feel particular kind of culture that you want to hear about the negative or positive about a particular culture, or first impression, like candidate when enters or immediately gives you the first impression, you make an impression in your mind while hiring. Gut feeling is internal feeling, that becomes a internal feeling. This is the point here. The feeling of the candidate is good or bad for the. And then you have the halo fact. Halo fact is that you are actually seeing this the candidate as a positive on a single characteristics can become the halo fact. On effect interviews evaluates that are negative based on your single characteristic. Positive is the hello, harshness of the on is the negative. Knowledge of predictor, when you have your rating score with you, examination score with you, then you feel that the candidate will perform good or bad on the basis of that score, that is knowledge of predictor. Then leniency. interview tends to go easy on the candidate, give the rating, higher rating to that unwarranted candidate. Explanation: negative emphasis and in interview allow a small amount of negative information to outweigh the positive information. Non-verbal biasness is that it is influenced by the body language of the candidates. Candidate who frowns when answering the question can be rated negative. And the question inconsistency, like your interview ask the question, different question. There are certain kind of recency effect and immediate effect that relevant. And similar to me, you say interview feel that candidates are relatively similar to me in terms of my education, culture, in terms of your location. Stereotyping, you have certain assumptions about specific traits, like the interview may assume that women would not be able to successfully perform a job that requires frequent lifting of your 50-pound weights. RJP are the realistic job reviews. You give the what candidate accurate picture of a typical day. Either you move to the candidate, either you, to the particular location or the job site, or you can discuss with the existing employees what kind of work will be there. Accordingly, he will make a choice that he will want to join or not. Then you have the inbox test. Inbox test, you prioritize. You give the task to the candidate, multiple tasks. Now he has to prioritize which has to be done first. That is the prioritization. That is the inbox test. Assessment centers are characterized by the multiple tests that are designed to measure the different aspects of the job, generally used to assess the candidate for management and potential and decision-making skills. You have certain kind of tests that are your aptitude test, cognitive ability test, and personality test. Aptitude measures your aptitude, like the typing language. Cognitive measures your ability to solve the problem, like a mental ability, and personality, like you have certain kind of psychometric tests. Integrity test check your honesty and your work toward ethics, and your psychometric assessment test the individual coordination and your mental dexterity. And physical assessment, you check to determine whether candidate is physically capable of performing on specific job duties or not. Then there can be certain kind of reliabilities that measure the test or other measure they are consistent or not. There will vary. Validity that consider that the characteristics of being measured by the test, whether the test is measuring the characteristics rely accurately or not. Then you have the content validity, simplest of three validity measures. Job analysis is the which we discussed. Job analysis is the key element of the content validity. Like we discussed, what is job content validity? Whatever the content is there given in the job description or job analysis, whether it is related to that or not. Then you have the construct validity, determine whether the test measures there is a connection between the candidate characteristic and the successful job. Then you construct that validity measure. Then the criteria related to that work, the behaviors, like you establish a test measure whether the predicts and correlates the behavior. Then you have the criteria validity, like your predictive validity that compares the test scores of the given test at the beginning of the job before the new employees have experience. Then you have the concurrent, the process is similar to that. It is concurrently given to the current employees, existing employees, that validity predicted here. Then you have the Fair Credit Reporting Act of 1970. That is the requires employers to make certain action prior to use of customer report, to use investigate consumer report, or to obtain a consumer reporting agency for use making the employment decision. You use the credit reporting agency. It is basically done for financial status to give, if you want to give the loan and everything. Financial credit reporting scale. So consumer reporting agency is that CRA is an individual, business, and non-profit organization gather the information about the individual with the intent of supplying certain kind of information to third party. And then you have the consumer report contained from the consumers to check your reputation, lifestyle, credit history. Investigative consumer report for the same purpose like the consumer report, but used for the information gathered through the personal interviews, friends, co-workers. Then you have the Privacy Act 1974. It says objective is to regulate the amount, type of information collected by the federal agencies. Type and amount of information collected by the federal agencies and the method by which it has been stored and effort. So that can be protected from personal privacy of the individual about whom the information has been collected, the personal rights. where it has been stored, where what kind of information, and it requires a written authorization also from the employer, from the individual, for that they can release, they want to release their personal information or not. And does not apply to what? The private employers. Negligent hiring. Negligent hiring is that occurs when the employer knew what should be known about the applicant prior history. That endangered your customers, employers, employee vendor. So it is negligent hiring is the whose column? It's the recruiter's column. He negligently hired the candidate without verifying, without due diligence is there. He hired the candidate and that leads to termination. For Employee Polygraph Protection Act 1988, so it's also used for employment making decisions, and it is basically it doesn't apply. It applies to the private employers.
Can we take a break?
We have, yeah. Let me complete this slide.
Okay.
It applies to the private employers who do not have, but doesn't to the federal, state, and local government and is administered by the wage labor. A violation of the provision may result in fine up to 10,000 against the employer. So, employee polygraph test. This one is also important from your examination point of view.
This conference will now be recorded.
Immigration National Act INA 1952. Purpose of INA to simplify the multiple law that are previously governed by the US, and it has established by the previous legislation immigration quotas that continues to be set on the basis of national origin. They change certain kind of allocation that are of the immigrant visas to the first come on first basis. That may not be important for you. IRCA can be important. Immigration Reform Control Act that applies to the business with 4 or more employees, 4 and more employees, and made it illegal to, if you knowingly hire and continue to employ the individual who are not legally authorized, that you are illegal, then their unfair labor immigration related employment practices are defined as discrimination on the basis of the national origin. Employers are required to sign complete Form I-9 forms for all new hires for these first 3 days of employment. This is important. I-9 ratio 3 into 3. So there are certain kind of fines. First fine is not less than $250 and more than 2,000. Second, you are not less than 2,000 and not more than 5,000. Third is not less than 5,000 and 10,000. Immigration Act of 1990, the Immigration Act of 1990 made several changes IRCA, including adding your requirement that prevailing the wage to be paid to the H-1B to ensure US citizens do not lose their job. The Act required restricted to the 65,000 annually number of illegal immigrants allowed to H-1B categories. These are kind of visas you need to remember, which kind of visas are there. H-1B is basically for the fashions, specialty, occupation. H-1C, C stands for your health professions and work for the short-term area. H-2A for the agriculture. A stands for agriculture. B stands for your temporary workers as a skill. H3 for the trainees. J1 is for the visa for the exchange visitors. J1 for the visitors. R1 stands for the religious, and the TN is the trade visa. TN and the trade. That is important. Then you have your L1A is executive managerial, L1B is the specialized, and L2 is the child. O is basically extraordinary for the science. P stand for your team, athletics, entertainments, your artists, for these kind of. These are the for athletes. It's a P kind of business. So IRCA, Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigration Responsibility Act 1996. This act reduced the number of types of the documents allowable to prove their identity, employment eligibility for both the hiring and process, and established a pilot program for verification. Then you have the voluntary organization exit process. There can be organization exit happens the two ways. Employee or either choose to leave or they are asked to. They are asked to leave. There may be voluntary and involuntary exit. The organization by either resigning or retiring or resignation that occurs, the employee decides to leave. Involuntary occurs when either performance there is a problem or changing business process or there. The Bona Act workers, readjustment, retraining and notification. This one is important. 1988, it provides some protection for the workers. In the event of the mass layoff and the plant closing, worker Bona Act. It requires a 60-day advance notice to be given to the either to the individual worker and the union representative. The Bona Act is administered by the Department of Labor and enforced through the labor courts. Employers with 100 or more than full-time, they require, or those of 100 or more than full-time or part-time who has worked either 4,000 hours or per week, more than per week, are subject to the provision of the Bona Act. This 100, 400,000 working hours. Employees count include those are temporarily leaves with a reasonable expectation of the call. Is applicable to the mass layoff that occurs at the 500 employees or are laid or 33% of the workforce and the least 50 employees are laid off. It's 500 or the 33%. This question usually comes. When the plant closing is there, when there are 450 or more than 50 full-time employees lose their job because the single facility shut down, either permanently or temporarily. In cases when the employer staggers the workforce reduction over a period of time, care must be taken by appropriate notice is given. The total reduction within the 90 days trigger is there. The Bona Act provides the three situations for 60-day notice not required. I think we have discussed in the question. This is a flattering company. There's an exception that applies to when the plant get closure in the situation where the company is actually seeking for the funds. You don't require the notice to be given. And have a reasonable expectation that the forthcoming amount of that preclude the layoff or the closure, and giving the notice would be negatively affect the ability to obtain the funding. So you have unforeseeable business circumstances. That is the circumstances exception applies to the plant closing, mass layoff occurs, and the circumstances take a sudden unexpected negative changes are there. Natural disaster as applies to the both plant closing and mass layoffs, such as flood, disaster, earthquakes. Survivor guilt is that when you mass people are leaving, the survivors who are leave, they have the negative thoughts in their mind. So once the layoff has been occurred, open and honest communication is still essential because the remaining employees struggle with the feeling, anger, and their co-workers had to leave their company then because they are still employed. There is a kind of dissatisfaction if they are now asked to take the work. That is the survivor guilt. Severance is the offering the packages, the money they are giving to the in case of unemployment shock. You are giving severance package must be consistent based on the rationale that ensure the all kind of your employees. Outplacement is what services that are utilized to transition employees who are leaving the company, most often as resulting from downsizing and layoff. These services is the employees in updating their resume and preparing their interviews, and they're often provided in the group seminar setting for the individual who have been terminated as part of mass layoff. So this is kind of your services are provided in the outplacement counseling session. Workforce Investment Act is the creation of a collaborative effort between the Department of Labor and the Congress, resulting in the job training program designed to improve the workers' skills for jobs of the 21st century. It is just like an internship program we are providing for the apprenticeship. The purpose is to improve your workforce quality and the enhance the national productivity and reduce the reliance on the welfare. Then you have the Trade Adjustment Assistance Program, TAA program, to assist the workers who lose their job as a result of the increase the imported goods. Then you have the eligibility of the program that requires a group of 3 or more workers to submit the application of DOL, like the Trade Adjustment Assistance Program. The DTA determines whether the group meets the eligibility required and if they issue the certification. Worker must be given, must have been laid off for the hours and reduce the hours, like the paying by 20%, and Trade Adjustment Assistance Program are there. Employer sale production level must be declined. So These are the kind of situation where you need, and the loss of job is due to a large part of increased imports. So these are the three conditions. If you have imports that impact your business, if the employer sales and production have declined, and workers must be laid because of their their salaries are reduced. Total output, the productivity metrics that are calculated by dividing the total inventory divided by your number of employees, total revenue. That is the total output. Tactical accountability measure of established metrics can be used to measure HR tactical accountability measure. Then is the session rate. A session rate measure the number of new employees against the total number of employees. Session rate. New divided by the total. And this measure is useful in determining the type of HR program required and the new employees and the total number of employees. Quality of hire is the time required to hire. This information includes the accurate job description, assessment tools, accurately so that define the best candidate have been hired and clear communication. And the measure is based on the performance rating, the quality of hire. Cost per hire is the common metric, but you calculate all the costs associated with the hires. Like for example, meaningful cost per hire calculation includes the cost of advertising, cost of recruiter time, screening the candidates, HR salary, or that are members of the interview team and assessment test, and any other cost that is required for the hiring of the new employee. The matrix is calculated by dividing the total cost by the number of hires. Then you have the time to hire. It's calculated by the date of the job is posted to the date of job is accepted by the new. When you posted and accepted time. Replacement cost per employee, that can be eye opener. How much cost is required for the replacement in terms of your just cost to hire? It includes the cost to hire. Then you have your turnover analysis, calculating dividing the average number of total employees by your measurement period of employee who exit divided by the total number. Then you have the expatriates or the PCN. Expatriates are those the home or parent country is the domicile of that company where its corporate headquarters are located. Employees who originate from that home country, suppose American organization, people of the American citizen, they are the expatriates. The parent country national PCN. Host country national is the country when the corporation is operating. Suppose the company is operating in India. The Indians will be the host country nationals. The third country national, the people, American company operating in India and people are working from Bangladesh, that's the third country national. They are from any other country other than the home or host country, the third country national. Experienced third country national who are familiar with their organization culture, business practice are most often utilized to set up new business in the neighboring country. And this can be an advantage in the situation for a business because it's less expensive than relocating the expatriates. Ethnocentric approach in which one will all the key management positions are filled by the expatriate. Ethnocentric means
ethnocentric. Everything is coming from where it started. Central.
CEO, director, they have been hired as a host. Sorry, not host. It's a parent country. A benefit of the ethnocentric approach, the ability to organization to maintain control. It's basically to control the organization unit and ensure that the business is conducted in accordance with the corporate mandates. And communication with the home affairs is made easier because the expatriates are familiar with the organization culture, business practice. And international assignment also provide the business opportunities to develop their individual as a part of succession planning. This approach is often taken during the startup phase of the business unit. So it's basically at the time of business unit. Then you send your own people and you apply. Polycentric approach is that when they build the corporate position in the home country with the expatriates, while management position in the host country are filled by the home country national. So in the home country, you fill your home country position corporate like the expatriates, and the manager position in the host country are filled by the home country national.
VPs come from there, but senior management is from there.
Like in India, a person will be from your
Actually, India is an example because India runs on JD. 51% is
Yeah.
post and
CEO is from the US and the local the vice president is from the
European
Indian,
Union,
right?
yeah.
And positive impact by showing the commitment to the host country and generating the goodwill for a business that does not afford the upward mobility. So if there is some barrier there. A benefit is that it is less expensive to hire the local employees and you save your salary. Real entry takes approach on a larger operational view, but then you have your polycentric. Like it covers your trade union regions like this, like your European, Asian region. So having their manager move in mobility, like in Asian or in, so the person is working in the European, so he may be given charge of 2, 3, that is the region, one region we have selected. Geocentric approach plays the best qualified person with each player regardless of their country region. It builds an international assignment. Those are members are able to move into the address in this particular geographic area. Impatriates are that may be brought from the home office for a period of time. Impatriates are what? Brought to the home office for a period of time, for a training to become accustomed with the culture, practice of the organization before returning to their countries of origin of work, for work assignment or their post country. Again, going back to the home country for a period of that are the impatriates. That completes your chapter 4 for the workforce planning, and all laws are important from the here. They are very important. So